Earlier today, Elizabeth Warren was called out for applying political pressure in a move of legislative overreach, reaching out to organizations and individuals that I know in the industry of cryptocurrency, accusing them of aiding and abetting terrorism. Now, some may want to use inoffensive language like legislative overreach, but I definitively term this as McCarthyism. That's a heavy charge, but I think the term fits. Stay tuned for more. Senator Warren has made some now debunked false allegations about crypto being used to finance Hamas. Folks who understand how blockchain works use the technology to debunk this claim with very hard facts. She's now responding to individuals and organizations who spearheaded this research with a letter that repeats the false and debunked allegations, and then asking them to name names of everyone who helped them in their research and a whole bunch of identifying information about their jobs, their lives, and daily activities. This letter, issued on official senatorial letterhead, imposed a response deadline, creating an atmosphere of subtle intimidation. It demanded extensive details from recipients, requiring them to disclose approximately 15 separate data points. This included information about their daily lives, interactions related to the issue, and any financial activities involving themselves and their family members. But what exactly is Senator Warren alleging? Just following the horrifically brutal October 7th Hamas attack on Israel, Senator Warren claimed that Hamas and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad had collectively raised over $130 million in crypto between August of 2021 and June of 2023. She cited an article in the Wall Street Journal that had suspiciously come out in tandem with her well-coordinated PR campaign. The problem is this data relies heavily on analytics firm Elliptic as a source, who subsequently disputed both Warren's allegations and the Wall Street Journal article. According to Elliptic, only about $21,000 had been donated to the terrorist organizations via crypto since October 7th, all of which appears to have been seized. To re-emphasize, the delta between what is alleged and what actually made it to terrorists is $130 million in crypto, or a difference of 100% of the amount alleged. Nick Carter broke it down further for Frank and I at the North American Blockchain Summit a few weeks ago.
He should resign for that. But return to the WSJ, they had some pretty questionable reporting, I thought, on Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Or it was actually Tether and Tron. It wasn't actually Bitcoin being used to fund Hamas. And, you know, it was interesting. We were able to complain loudly enough that they actually issued a correction there. The problem was that Elizabeth Warren cited that reporting in her letter, which was signed by 100 members of Congress, and that damage is done. You know, the narrative on Capitol Hill is established.
Yep.
That crypto is the linchpin of terror financing, even though it's very evident that they have conventional means of financing themselves. Right. Iran is a state sponsor. Hamas, like, they're probably not using crypto as the main way to, you know, they actually just have conventional banks. You know,
yeah.
Hamas had an account at Barclays. Okay, so obviously crypto is a tool in the toolkit, and I think it was overstated in the WSJ article, and I think they dramatically overstated the numbers. I think the consensus among the elite chain analysis firms now is that that headline number of 130 mil was not accurate. So we had a sort of partial win there.
What Nick concludes in this interview is that the damage was done on Capitol Hill despite the correction, but my point is that the damage is not yet done being inflicted. I call this McCarthyism at the top of the program here. What is McCarthyism? And is this it? The term McCarthyism historically refers to the practice of making accusations of subversion or treason without proper regard for evidence. It's associated with Senator Joseph McCarthy's tactics during the 1950s in the United States, where he accused many citizens of being communist or communist sympathizers, often with little or no evidence. The term has been since used more broadly to describe aggressive, unsubstantiated accusations as well as demagogic attacks on the character or patriotism of political adversaries. Senator Warren checks all the boxes here. In her letter demanding intrusive information, it doubles down on the debunked information, and they seem to be driven from a place of desire to politically persecute consumers and workers in a certain ideologically driven technology. The ideological animus has been documented for years, but this was probably never more readily apparent than when she declared herself the general of the anti-crypto army at the launch of her most recent re-election campaign. I didn't make this up. This is an actual ad. She's brought up her anti-crypto campaign on Capitol Hill several times in recent memory, even inducing this very memorable quote from the CEO of the country's largest bank, J.P. Morgan.
I've always been deeply opposed to crypto, Bitcoin, etc. You pointed out the only true use case for it is criminals, drug traffickers, anti-money laundering, tax avoidance, and that is a use case. because it is somewhat anonymous, not fully, and because you can move money instantaneously, and because it doesn't go through, as you mentioned, all these systems have been built up over many years, know your customer, sanctions, OFAC, they can bypass all of that. If I was the government, I'd close it down.
Okay.
I've always been deeply opposed to crypto.
Her irrational hatred of crypto and its perfect dovetail with what's now being called Choke Point 2.0 was recently noted by Republican presidential hopeful Vivek Ramaswamy. Here is Vivek speaking at the North American Blockchain Summit just a few weeks ago, talking about this exact topic.
I've learned plenty, and I assumed that the real deficit here was a failure of understanding. And I think the bad news that I'll share with you is that that assumption was false. It's not a lack of understanding of what you all do. It's actually a fundamental, the real danger comes from the people who do understand what you do, but are hostile to its existence because it is a threat to the prevailing status quo in Washington, D.C. Now, the litmus test that I use for every policy we roll out is, would our founding fathers be proud of what they see today, or would they be appalled? And what you see today in the choke point, it really is a form of an operation choke point to choke cryptocurrencies and alternative currencies to the dollar out of existence in the United States. What you really see is something that our founding fathers would be rolling over in their graves if they really knew what was happening. So we're going to talk about a better path forward today.
So the pattern here is clear. Senator Warren is a bad actor and must be stopped. It's not a mystery that the foundations of blockchain and Bitcoin and cryptography itself are rooted in the desire to give the individual greater freedom. This is, ironically, the basis for Senator Warren's self-styled image as a consumer protector. She began her career supposedly fighting big banks, but has been mostly with invective and not resulting in any beneficial actions. There are wide deltas between her allegations and reality. She's operating in a largely unaccountable fashion, a problem we see throughout government rapidly becoming a gerontocracy. She's performing these actions as a means to introducing a chilling effect on a more informed discourse. We should never be ashamed to advocate for a more informed and nuanced discussion, but here we are being bullied by her. We must continue to build around our aggressively anti-freedom legislative branch in the blockchain industry, but we must continue to advocate on our own behalf to live long enough to do so. Hey, thanks for watching The Merge. We've got a ton more stuff for you to watch on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok, everywhere. Check us out.